You're spending hours staring at textbooks and retaining almost nothing. Meanwhile, there are students who study half the time, learn twice as much, and make it look effortless. They're not smarter than you. They're not working harder. They know something you don't. They've figured out how to study in a way that's so efficient, so ridiculously effective, that it honestly feels like cheating. While you're grinding through page after page, they're absorbing information at speeds that seem impossible. Today, I'm going to expose every single technique they're using. These aren't study tips. These are psychological shortcuts that exploit how your brain actually learns. By the end of this video, you'll be studying faster than you ever thought possible. Let's go. The biggest lie about studying. First, let me destroy the biggest lie you've been told about learning. More time does not equal better results. You can study for 8 hours and learn less than someone who studies for 2 hours using the right methods. Time spent is meaningless. What matters is how your brain processes information during that time. Research from cognitive psychology is crystal clear on this. Your brain doesn't learn from exposure. It learns from retrieval, from struggle, from active engagement. Reading something 10 times teaches you almost nothing. Forcing yourself to recall it once? That rewires your brain permanently. So stop measuring study sessions by hours. Start measuring by how many times you forced your brain to work. Technique 1. Blurting. This technique is stupid simple and insanely effective. Here's what you do. Read a section of your textbook or notes. Could be 1 page, could be 3, doesn't matter. Then, close the book. Grab blank paper. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Write down everything you remember, every concept, every detail, every word you can recall. Don't look back at the material. Just blurt it all out. When the timer stops, open your book and check what you missed. Those gaps? That's exactly what you need to study. Why does this work so well? Because you're forcing retrieval immediately. Your brain has to work to pull information from memory. That struggle creates the neural connections that make learning stick. Studies show that students who use blurting retain information 3 times longer than students who just reread material. 3 times. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between forgetting everything after the exam and remembering it for years. Do this with every section you study, and watch how fast you actually learn. Technique 2. The Feynman Technique on steroids. You've probably heard of the Feynman Technique. Explain concepts in simple terms like you're teaching a child. That's good, but here's how to make it feel like actual cheating. Instead of just explaining it to yourself, record yourself explaining it. Video or just audio, doesn't matter. Then, watch it back. You'll immediately see where you struggle, where you use vague language because you don't actually understand, where you have to pause because you forgot something. Those moments? Gold. That's your brain showing you exactly what you don't know. Research on self-explanation shows that articulating concepts out loud forces deeper processing than just thinking about them. But recording adds another layer, because now you're reviewing your own explanation. It's like having a tutor point out your weak spots, except the tutor is you. Do this for major concepts and you'll master them in a fraction of the time. Technique 3. Spaced repetition, but actually strategic. Everyone knows about spaced repetition. Review material at increasing intervals. Day 1, Day 3, Day 7, whatever. But here's what nobody tells you. You're probably doing it wrong. The key isn't reviewing at random intervals. It's reviewing right before you're about to forget. There's this sweet spot. Too soon, and you're wasting time reviewing what you already know. Too late, and you've already forgotten, so you're basically learning from scratch again. The sweet spot is right when it's getting difficult to remember, but you can still retrieve it with effort. How do you find this spot? Pay attention to how confident you feel. When you think about a concept and you feel that slight struggle to remember it, that's when you review. Apps like Anki do this automatically. They track when you're about to forget and quiz you right then. But even without apps, you can do this manually. Keep a list of what you studied and when. When you feel that slight difficulty recalling it, that's your review trigger. This one technique alone can cut your study time in half while doubling retention. Technique 4. The question before reading method. Here's how most people study. They read the chapter, then try to answer questions at the end. Backwards, completely backwards. Read the questions first, before you even start the chapter. When you know what questions you need to answer, your brain automatically hunts for that information while reading. It's called priming, and it makes your reading insanely more efficient. Instead of passively absorbing words, you're actively searching for specific information. Your brain is in detective mode, not spectator mode. Research shows this simple switch increases reading comprehension by 40%. Same reading, same time. 40% better understanding just from reading questions first. Also works with practice tests. Do the practice test before studying the material. You'll fail most questions. That's the point. Failing creates curiosity gaps that your brain desperately wants to fill. Then, when you study, your brain is looking for answers to questions it already failed. The learning sticks instantly. Technique 5. Interleaving instead of blocking. This is where it gets counterintuitive. Most people study one topic until they master it, then move to the next topic. That's called blocking. Feels efficient. It's not. Research shows that mixing topics, called interleaving, produces way better long-term learning. Instead of doing 20 calculus problems of the same type, do 4 different types of problems rotated. Biology, instead of studying all of Chapter 3, then all of Chapter 4, mix concepts from both chapters in the same session. Why does this work? Because it forces your brain to constantly identify which strategy applies to which problem. You can't just follow a pattern. You have to think. It feels harder. That's exactly why it works better. The difficulty is what creates learning. Students who use interleaving score 50 to 70% higher on tests compared to blocked practice. Same study time, massively better results. Technique 6. The 2-minute rule for starting. Biggest study killer? Not starting. You know you need to study, but you keep putting it off because it feels overwhelming. Here's the hack. Tell yourself you're only studying for 2 minutes. That's it. 2 minutes. Anyone can do 2 minutes. Set a timer, start studying. When 2 minutes is up, you can stop if you want. Here's what happens 90% of the time. You don't stop. Because starting was the hard part. Once you're already doing it, continuing is easy. This exploits your brain's activation energy principle. Getting started requires enormous mental energy. But once you're in motion, staying in motion takes almost no energy. Research on habit formation shows that the hardest part of any task is the first 2 minutes. After that, your brain shifts into task mode and resistance drops dramatically. Use this every single time you're procrastinating. 2 minutes. That's all you commit to. Works every time. Technique 7. Study right before sleep. This is probably the most slept-on study technique. Literally. Whatever you study in the hour before bed gets consolidated into long-term memory better than anything you study during the day. Why? Because during sleep, your brain replays and strengthens whatever you learned right before sleeping. It's like your brain does a second study session while you're unconscious. Research from Harvard shows that people who study material then sleep retain it significantly better than people who study the same material and stay awake for the same amount of time. This is free extra learning. You're literally learning while sleeping. Use this strategically. Study your hardest material right before bed. Not homework, not easy review. The stuff you actually need to master. Then sleep. Let your brain do the work. Technique 8. Teach someone else immediately. If you really want to learn something fast, find someone to teach it to within 24 hours of learning it. Doesn't have to be a formal thing. Just grab a friend, a family member, anyone, and explain what you just learned. Teaching forces your brain to organize information clearly. It exposes gaps you didn't know existed, and it creates retrieval practice in the most effective form possible. Studies show that students who study with the intention to teach retain 65% more than students who study just to pass a test. Plus, explaining it to someone else makes you find simple language and clear examples. That deeper processing creates understanding that lasts. Can't find someone to teach? Teach your dog. Teach your mirror. Record yourself teaching an imaginary class. The act of teaching is what matters, not the audience. The truth about speed learning. These techniques feel like cheating because they're so much more effective than traditional studying. But they're not actually cheating. They're just working with your brain instead of against it. Your brain learns through retrieval, not repetition. Through struggle, not comfort. Through active processing, not passive reading. Most study methods ignore this. These techniques exploit it. Here's what happens when you actually use these. You'll study less and learn more. You'll finish assignments faster. You'll remember information longer. And you'll wonder why nobody taught you this stuff years ago. But here's the catch. These techniques feel harder at first. Blurting is harder than rereading. Interleaving is harder than blocking. Teaching is harder than highlighting. That difficulty is the point. That's your brain actually learning. So yeah, it feels like cheating. But only because most people are studying in ways that barely work at all. Now you know better. Use these techniques and leave everyone else wondering how you're learning so fast. Now I want to hear from you. Which technique are you trying first? Have you used any of these before? Drop a comment below and let me know. If this video completely changed how you think about studying, smash that like button. It helps other students discover these techniques and stop wasting time on methods that don't work. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more science-backed strategies on learning faster, studying smarter, and actually retaining what you learn. Share this with every student you know who's grinding for hours and barely seeing results. These techniques could literally transform their grades. Thank you for watching. Stop studying harder. Start studying smarter. These techniques are your shortcut. Use them. I'll see you in the next video.